practices last year. Whether it's Ben Crowell or
First question.
Ben Carlson, Steven Crowell, get them combined there. Carter Gilmore, and then the freshmen, coming in. So I think it's a very good mix, and just it's going to take a little time for it to all gel. And we got 12 guys that have never played in front of a live crowd. Some of them were in front of the cardboard cutouts last year. Others were in high school. So that's going to be, that's for everybody. Who's going to have that adjustment. But I really like the makings of this team, and their effort and their togetherness has been terrific so far.
Jonathan, Davis, you mentioned him and Tyler. Jonathan specifically, what he can do, and we can address how it might have been difficult for him last year to navigate older team.
Right. Yeah, when you're playing on an older team as the youngest guy, and he was really the only freshman that got, the majority of the minutes, almost 28 a game. I know that's hard. That's a hard position to be in, especially when you have that many older guys. But he has the ability to make plays in a lot of different ways. And I think the experience he got this summer with USA Basketball, and not that he wasn't a good player before he went with that team, but going down to TCU, making the team, and then traveling with them with the U19 team to Latvia and winning the gold, he came back with just an air of confidence about him that I think players like that can be impactful and dominating need. That little bit of boost of the swagger, so to speak. So between that and the experience he got last year, I think those two have really helped set him up to be in a position to have a really good year and take a big step forward.
Coach, a quick Ben Johnson question. Do you remember him as a player?
Yeah, I do. And we actually interviewed him too when he was at Northern Iowa for one of our assistant positions that we ended up hiring in Lamont Paris at the time. But Ben is, he's made coaching his profession, which is always great to see people that have really invested their life into the profession get rewarded enough for him to come back to his alma mater and come back to Minnesota is a great accomplishment for him. But he's earned it. He's earned that opportunity. Like I said, I remember him when he was a player, and then he was working his way through the coaching ranks, and has always done things the right way. So it's good to see guys like that be rewarded for their hard work.
Coach, we're in the red W there. What does that mean? And welcome to Indianapolis today. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Down here, but what does that mean to you? I mean, being the coach of Wisconsin.
Well, I grew up in Wisconsin, so all my college stops have been in Wisconsin. So my roots are there. I understand the history of the program. I understand I was alive when it wasn't very good. And then obviously I've seen it grow. And the whole athletic department really grow over the last, 25, 30 years. So that you take an extra sense of pride with that, what you get to represent and who you get to represent. And you understand, how important the Badgers are to the people in the state. So you take that responsibility very seriously and have a great appreciation for it because of you understand the past and what it's come from. And there's been so many people that have their fingerprints on the success of our program over the last, like I said, 20, 25 years. That I'm just fortunate to be able to represent that right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Chance to.
I haven't had a chance to talk to him. There's hopes that he's going to be coming home here soon. So that's 2 days ago he had not yet come home, but that's going hopefully in the right direction for him to be able to. COVID, obviously, with the rise and fall of that has minimized visitors for him. So I haven't been able to hit a window where the visitors have been allowed. But I think he's making good progress. It's been a slow, obviously, journey back, but he's got a lot of support around him. Yeah, I do. I do.
Based on last year, the struggles that you guys went through at times, the new faces, did you feel more refreshed than beginning of a normal year? Do you feel energized with this group?
Well, I think just the fact that we got an off season has been, you looked at a year ago, we finished actually down here in Bloomington on March 7th, whatever it was, when we won that last game. And 3 days later, we were all sent home, and it was 8 months before we ever had everybody back together. So just what that what was void in that, looking back, how we were able to have a spring this year, weight room, what we were able to do individually with skill development, and then having a full 8 weeks in the summer, and to be able to have everybody there day in and day out. And specifically the weight room, I think we've really always used the off season to really emphasize that and put an onus on that. But that's been the biggest thing, is just all the things, as I've said before, and I said in my press conference, when something gets taken away, maybe you take it for granted, and maybe we took the off season for granted, how important it was. But when you don't have it, and then when you get it back and you realize, wow, look at all the things that we were able to accomplish this summer. Now, you're still going to be measured on the results of it, but just having this group together, for like I said, a couple months in the summer, and then be able to operate in a normal capacity this fall has been good.
How much does it help? I know yesterday you're talking with Jordan Bohannon from Iowa, like having a guy like Brad around again, who's been 15-year career at Wisconsin, just having him back around.
Yeah, well,
Davidson's
they always
15-year career
they
at
always
Wisconsin.
make jokes about the guys that are really good players that come back. So I'm sure there's a few jokes floating around about Jordan Bohannon being there, Grandpa Bohannon being around at Iowa, but he's a really good player. And same thing with Brad. When you get guys like that are able to come back and return for a year and they've had a good career, he's one of the best leaders I've been around in 30 years of coaching. And it's not just on the floor. It's every day. It's in the locker room. It's in the weight room. It's how he carries himself. It's how the glass is always overflowing. There's not a bad day in Brad's life, at least according to him. So that's what you, I think, really appreciate and respect of how he's approached every day and how he's grown. And then what he's been able to do for our younger guys, and some of it's just let them kind of ride on their own. And I think he's found a happy medium there, specifically with Tyler and Johnny, that hey, they got to find their own voice, and we can't be always there to catch them when the bike wobbles, so to speak, and they have to learn through some things. And everybody wants to be a leader until it's time to lead, and I think then you realize how hard it is. And I think for Johnny and Tyler to assume some of those responsibilities and then really find out what it's like, that's more difficult than it looks. But having Brad there as a confidant and a mentor has really been beneficial.
Is it too early to know how this group will mesh, given all the new faces, or do you have a feel of that?
I've just watched how there's a lot of things we haven't done yet and play a game together, but how I've watched them come together off the court, and you're coming from a variety of different backgrounds too, specifically with 3 transfers, that the chemistry and the synergy seems to be really good, and you can't force that either. We can do team activities, we can do some things, but most of that happens organically over the course of time. And that's the nice thing about being back to a sense of normalcy, is that you can do more of those team activities where last year that wasn't on the radar. So I think there's a lot of unknowns, and there's things that I don't know, that how are they going to respond, how are they going to react, who am I going to start? I don't know. I mean, we're 6 days in, so I'm still. But that's the exciting part about it, is that every day I learn something new, and they learn something new. We had a little media training session before we came down here earlier in the week, and our freshmen didn't know why it was called the Cole Center. They didn't know who Herb Cole was. So why is the Nicholas Johnson named the Nicholas Johnson Pavilion? Who's Nicholas? And we had a little education session on who Ab was. So just those simple things. Like, I had a couple freshmen come, man, I didn't know that. I didn't, so that's, you're teaching that, plus you're teaching ball screen defense, plus you're teaching transition defense and all the things that come with it. That's the exciting part, that they don't take things for granted. And I think the older guys having gone through last year and what was taken away, and now coming back, I sense a greater sense of appreciation for the opportunities they have in front of them.
Obviously, losing Micah and Nate up front is a pretty big hole to fill. What have some of the younger guys brought to the mix to fill those voids?
Yeah, I think it's, we've added, obviously, Chris Vogt, a grad transfer from Cincinnati, but also Ben Carlson and Stephen Crow were there every day last year in practice. When Stephen, for the most part, Ben was hurt and out for the majority of the year. But that experience that those guys are able to bring to the table, and we've always, relied on the next guys coming, and it's their opportunity to step up and their opportunity to be in that front line along with others that'll be in that position. A lot of new faces, but guys that have an opportunity to learn and to grow, and I know they're excited for their chance. Other guys have had to wait their turn, so to speak, and pay their dues, and those guys are ready to take another step forward.
How do you think Chris Boat's game kind of fits into your offense? Is the guy you can play with back to back?
Yeah, I mean, he does. He fits in that way. Really good feel for the game. You can tell he's been well coached at Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. And I think the biggest thing is the experience he brings to our locker room. He's been through a lot. He's played on championship teams. So between him and Jacoby, with 2 years at Wake Forest, I think it helps mature us and brings experience to us that normally you wouldn't get with a true freshman. So I think the mix of guys and the chemistry is in a really good spot. So how that all comes together when we get to live action, we're still learning that every day, but I like what I see.
Greg,
Yep.
you've got your 8 new guys. How are they adapting and developing in practice so far? And if you wouldn't mind, kind of picking out something about each of them that you've noticed that you didn't notice?
Well, I think every day is a new adventure. As I mentioned before, every day I'm learning something new, and I know they are. I think whether it's terminology, whether it's things we do within our system offensively or defensively, getting to know each other, getting to know strengths and weaknesses of each other. So every day, I'm excited to get back to Madison today and see what I'm going to learn in this afternoon's practice. So it's the new guys, Jacoby and Chris, like I mentioned, experience and maturity. And it's a unique recruiting experience because we couldn't watch them or visit with them or anything. We had to do everything over Zoom and everything over video in terms of making decisions and them making decisions about us. So, what they've shown so far has been, I've liked what I've seen, and they've really helped us. And then with the younger guys, with the freshman, Chucky obviously knows how to play, but he's a freshman, and there's going to be freshman miscues at times. And Matt Moores and Marcus Ilver have both done really good things in practice. You can tell their IQ. They're very smart and they understand the game. And Chris Hodges missed his whole senior year because of the pandemic, and with his dad has a health concern that he didn't want to put his dad in jeopardy. So he missed all of his senior year playing, and he's AAU summer a year ago. So he hasn't maybe had the experience in the last 18 to 24 months that the others have had, so there's a little more catching up for him, but all of them have done really good things in different days, and the key is right now is, can we become more and more consistent? Can we take a step forward every day? Do we retain what we learned yesterday and carry it forward to tomorrow? And how do we grow through that? And knowing that there's going to be a lot of things we're going to learn, and our most learning will come when we get into game experience and have to figure out things on the fly. So, like I said, I'm excited to see how they grow and develop, because I think the potential is really good. But we got to go produce, and we got to play and try to perform at a high level.
And then with the amount of turnover you had from last year to this year, what are you hoping to see as the outbreaking identity and theme of this year and this team?
Well, our identity and our theme is always relatively the same. We want to be a smart team. We want to make sure we're taking care of the ball. We want to play the game the right way. We have to play with a level of toughness to us, especially in this league. If you want to play be in the upper echelon, you have to have an element of toughness to you, which involves the defensive end of the floor and the rebounding. And then we have to be together. So we talk about smart, tough, and together a lot. So those branch off in different ways and are defined in different areas, but that's the identity. At the end of the day, will still be relatively the same, and that's been what it takes to win in this league and be in the upper echelon and win this league is you have to be very sound and consistent in those areas.
And then I asked you it over there earlier, but with Johnny and Tyler kind of stepping into this leadership role, what has been your favorite part of seeing them kind of take on this new mantle?
I think the most favorite part is watching them walk into something that they have no idea what they're getting themselves into and figure it out and kind of swim on their own, so to speak. So they have to search for the right words in front of teammates. They have to lead player A differently than player B and communicate differently with player A than player B or C. So, and navigating that on their own and kind of learning through that experience. I could talk about leadership, I could talk about what it's going to take, but they need to walk it. They need to experience it for themselves. And just watching the looks on their face and their reactions and the sometimes not sure how they should do it moments on their face, you know, and watching them figure it out and watching them have success with it is always rewarding.
And you mentioned they have two different styles of leadership. Do you mind describing each of their styles and maybe give an example of how you've seen it play out?
Yeah, well, neither one of them are lengthy talkers. You know, they're more by their actions and how they work, more by example. You know, and Johnny's very direct. He doesn't need a lot of. He just says it how it is. Tyler can maybe massage it a little bit better, and obviously he's a year older, so he has a little more experience with it. But they have to lead to their personality. But at the same time, they have to understand that all their teammates and the people they're leading all have different personalities too. So, my biggest thing with them is just be yourself. You know, find your own voice, lean on others, and having Brad around as kind of a mentor that's been through a lot and has done a very good job of leading is a great resource for them to bounce things off when they need to. You ready to go to TV? Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet. Thank you.